Dear learners, this is Dr. Himraj Patil, working as Assistant Professor at AISSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology. We are going to discuss about supply chain management. This chapter is divided into 4 parts. Let's start with the part 1. The objectives of this lecture are to define supply chain, to discuss generic supply chain, and to know supply chain network. So basically these 3 things we are going to cover in this lecture. So what is a supply chain? In the broadest sense, a supply chain refers to the way that materials flow through different organizations, starting with raw materials and ending with finished product delivered to the ultimate customer. So as per the customer wants, the product is manufactured, so which starts from the raw material to a finished products. It goes through other stages also that we will see in the next definition. The another definition of supply chain is supply chain is a sequence of suppliers, manufacturers, transporters, warehouses, wholesalers, retail outlets, and final customers. So before the product reaches to a final customer, it goes through these various stages. Here if you take the example of say a tomato ketchup. The tomato ketchup which you get in a shop, in a grocery stores, which is not directly coming from the manufacturer. For producing that tomato ketchup, the raw material required is the tomatoes. So the manufacturers, they buy tomatoes from the farmers. Then it is processed, the product is made, and there are the centralized or the big manufacturers or the companies where this product is made. Then once the product is ready for sale, then with the help of the vehicles, the trucks, they transport it to the warehouses. In a simple term, warehouses is a kind of the storage where the products are stored. That is a central place, and from where it is distributed to different places. And from the warehouses, then the product goes to wholesalers, and from the wholesalers that goes to retail outlets, and finally it reaches to the final customer. The another definition of the supply chain is uh, a supply chain consists of all stages involved directly or indirectly in fulfilling a customer's request. In the above mentioned definition, there are the many other things also which is not mentioned, like the customer service. If the product is faulty, even the manufacturer, they provide that service to a customer, but which is not mentioned there. Or even the manufacturers, they take the feedback from the customers. That is also not mentioned in the above definition. So they basically it involves many other things. Within a manufacturing organization, the supply chain includes functions such as new product development, marketing, operations, distribution, finance, and customer care. So the previous one we saw a supply chain for a one product. But if you look at the one component, that is a manufacturing, in the manufacturing organization also there are sub chains. There are various departments like product development. With the changing environment and the demanding customers, the manufacturer has to be more innovative, and they always look and upgrade their product. So for that, the product development department is required, and they invent the new products. In today's competitive world, the only the manufactured product is not only going to sell without a marketing. So you need to make your product known to your customers. So that is the job of the marketing, in fact, to make it popular in the market. Next one is operations. Operations is nothing but a kind of the processing which happens in the company. Once the final product is done, then there is a different section for the distribution, and to produce a product you require a finance. So without money you can't do anything. So that finance department handles all the monetary things for whatever raw material is required, the salaries of the employees. So everything is handled by that department. And once the product is sold to a customer, that is not the end of the story. Even other services, like I mentioned already, that after once the product is sold, if any services are required, that also need to provide to the customer. So the supply chain is a very dynamic. All the products are in a motion, and it involves the constant flow of information, product, and funds between different stages. So which is not mentioned in the above definition. So along with your suppliers, manufacturers, wholesalers, retailers, the other thing also flows parallelly with that one. That is a information, product, and the funds. So there are three generic supply chains which you will find in the market. The first one is the chain which has only four components, that is a manufacturer, wholesaler, retailer, and customers. So once the product is manufactured, that is a standard supply chain, in fact, where you find these four components. The second generic supply chain is where you have only manufacturer, retailer, and customer. So here if you take the example of a say a bakery shop, which is applicable to the above supply chain also, in fact, like uh, the companies like Parle-G and Britannia. So they manufacture biscuits. These are the very big companies. So they emphasize more on a manufacturing, and they sell their product to a wholesaler, and wholesaler sell it to the retailer, and it goes to the final customer. But the medium size bakeries, they manufacture the bakery goods and directly they sell it to the retailer, and from the retailer the customers, they buy their bakery products. And the very small bakery shops, the stand alone bakery shops, where they just manufacture the bakery goods and they sell on the counter directly. So customers, they go directly to that small bakery shop and they buy their product. So these are the various supply chains. It is not necessary to have all 4 or 6 components in the every supply chain. So that depends upon the size of the company and the nature of the product as well. So the generalized supply chain for a manufacturer is different, and for a service industry is different. So here you can see in this flow chart that for the manufacturer supply chain, always there are multiple suppliers. So from there, the here you can take the example of the tomato sauce again. Like if you want to manufacture a tomato sauce or tomato ketchup, you need a tomatoes. So tomatoes from the various suppliers are collected. So that is a storage. And from the various farmers, once it is collected, it is stored at one place, and from there it goes to a manufacturer. So where the final product, the tomato ketchup, is made, and then once it is made, it is ready, it is stored in a storage, or you can call it a warehouses. From the warehouses, it goes to distributors, and from distributors it goes to a retailer, and then finally it reaches to the customer. Again, there is no universal rule that there has to be all these stages. Again, remember one thing, that it depends upon the product and the company as well. But this is the standard supply chain. So the supply chain for service industry like hotels, tourism. So this kind of the industry, they do not really manufacture, but they give a service of the products. Like in the hotels, if you take the example of the linen, so linen they get it from the supplier, and which is stored in the laundry. And whenever after the checkout of the guest or the next day, always they provide fresh uh, bed sheets, towels, pillow covers, everything they change, blankets. So they do not sell it to the customer, but this is a service given to a customer, right? So here there are no wholesalers or retailers or manufacturers. The supply chain for the service industry is totally different here. The last part of this chapter is supply chain network. So in the previous slides, we saw the supply chains where you find only uh, two or three maybe suppliers, but one manufacturer, one distributor, one retailer. But in the supply chain network, the number of stages may be same, but vertically there are many people around that. So let's see actually what is a supply chain network. So due to a rapid technological advancement, organizations with a basic supply chain can develop this chain into a more complex structure involving a higher level of interdependence and connectivity between more organizations. This constitutes a supply chain network. Okay, here again we can take an example of bakery products. Like manufacturer one is your Britannia, and the second one is a Parle-G. So both of them, they buy the raw material from the various suppliers. So here you see supplier 1, 2, 3, 4, and this supplier, they sell the product to both the manufacturers. Then these both the manufacturers, they send their uh, product to a distribution center, or you can call it warehouses, where the products are stored properly. So maybe the manufacturer one, they send it to distribution center 1 and 2, and to send it to the 2 and 3, or even the 1 also. And from the this distribution center, maybe the distribution center 1, they uh, sell it to the retailer 1 and 2. So vertically there are multiple people, and finally it reaches to the customers. So this structure looks like a network, so that's why it is called the supply chain network. For preparing this lecture, following references have been used: some textbooks, and with the help of the internet, the information is derived. See you in the second part of this chapter, supply chain management. Till then, goodbye.